kind of do for real. For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep. Hi. I'm soul by funky. Hey. Soul by funky. Hi. I'm soul by cosmic soul. Hey.
Hey there, everybody. What's going on? Yours truly, Takara Nicole, aka the Identity Architect. And yes, you're back for another episode of the Authors Authority Lounge, the official, yes, I said official, TV show for authors. So, if you are one that desires to be an author, or you are an author, or you're on the struggle bus, listen, you're in the right place. So, tune in for the next 28 minutes or so, and we are in for a treat. So as a publisher, as a 12-time author, it's really big to be able to share some amazing authors that we have here in the Omaha area. Yes, Omaha, Lincoln, Kearney. Even if you want to drive in from Kearney to be on the show, come on through. We would love to have you on the couch here. And so authorship is really an amazing way to share your story, your message, whether you're a coach, consultant, or you simply have a story to share from average to overcomer. Put it in a book. People want to read it. So today, let me backtrack. For those of you who actually watch What's the Real Deal with Takara Nicole, which will be back soon, don't you worry. This amazing guest has been a part of that TV show, but she's published an amazing book, and we had to have her back. So the wonderful CJ Jackson, what's up, sis, girl?
Hey,
how we doing?
I'm good. You know what? Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Again.
Yes. I love it.
This is amazing.
Thank you. Tell the people a little bit about who CJ Jackson is in the role of the author, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty here in a second.
Oh my goodness. Who is CJ Jackson? You know, every time people get this question, you try to figure out how should I answer to really encapsulate like who I am.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm just a woman who really firmly believes that I was created for a specific reason.
For sure.
You know, God created me to do a specific thing here while I am alive in this earth. And it is my honor to be able to fulfill that purpose and that task. And so when I think about who am I don't want to go to my titles and my roles, you know, automatically. I'm someone who firmly believes that people have purpose at the end of the day. And I love hard. And I really want people to understand that they have a light inside of them. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, that's who I am.
For sure.
Is I'm trying to let my light shine bright because there's just a lot of, you know, darkness happening around us all the time, a lot of things that, you know, we can't control that kind of hold us down and are very discouraging. And so I just want to be the salt of the earth.
I love that. Yeah. I always talk about knowing who you are as a game changer because it allows for you to show up in the world as your true, authentic self. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, I do have another TV show called Vault Talks Women Share. And so we recorded our first episode of the season. We've been around for 6 years now, which is, oh my God.
Yes, amazing.
So thank you. And so God had me to really talk about honor and what it looks like to honor our gifts. Yeah. And a lot of times we sit on our gifts because we don't think that we can show up in such a way where we can be our true authentic selves because of the people we're around or the expectations that are placed upon us or the childhood hurts that have attached themselves to us and have like literally stopped us from really believing that we can be this amazing person that God has created us to be. So when you said that, and just it's so cool to see how you move in our community. Yeah. Thank you so much for accepting the call, because if you guys have a call in your life, listen, it's not easy to walk in that thing every day. I tell people, look, you don't want to put on my 9s, maybe 9.5, depending on what brand, every day and walk out what it looks like to be Takara Nicole, you know? So let's talk about where the book came from and talk about your program a little bit, just in case somebody doesn't know what you do here in our community.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is actually the second workbook that I've published. Woo, 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 woo. So the first one I did was actually for young girls. so 10 to 18 in that area. That was the first workbook that I did. This workbook is called Empower Her. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because it talks about the 9 reasons why someone's confidence is MIA. And as women, there's so many things that are out there in the world. If you Google like self-esteem or self-worth or any of those things, there's a myriad of things that come up.
For sure.
But none of them, in my opinion, when I was doing research, really spoke to, okay, but why is someone suffering from lack of confidence?
Yeah.
You know, you get all those things that say, fake it till you make it. No, I don't want to fake anything. Like, I want the real thing. Give me the real thing.
Yeah.
And what is going on that's really impacting how I feel about myself. And so when I was doing some research, and you know, I'm a woman of faith, and I believe, you know, God will give you what you're looking for.
For sure.
And so when I was doing my research, what landed in my spirit was my own experience growing up.
Yes.
My own experience growing up. And I've talked about this on your other show before about growing up with my parents being in an abusive relationship for most of my life. And then also me suffering from childhood hurts and trauma and things that I could not control that really tore away my voice and my self-worth and my self-esteem, my self-confidence. Where was it? It was nowhere. It was hiding underneath the chair somewhere. I couldn't find it. And so it took me half of my life to regain those things. And I feel like, why should it have to take the next woman, the next girl, 20 years to figure out who they are, what they bring to the table? And I wanted to fast track that, which is why I created Confidently Me Coaching, which is why I created the Phenomenal Woman Academy, which is why I created this book, because inside of this book, it takes you on a journey. It takes you through the 9 reasons why your confidence is potentially MIA and the 9 things that you actually need to address in order for you to self-reflect and understand who you are first and foremost and what you bring to the table and regain your sense of self-worth and to build some self-esteem. And a lot of that is what we call inner work. And a lot of people think that it's a light switch or you can go purchase it from Amazon or Walmart. You cannot.
No.
It takes work. It takes you sitting down with yourself and saying, okay, let me reflect on everything that's happened in my life, all those experiences, good, bad, ugly, everything in between, and understand, how am I contributing, or how am I not understanding how to master these things? So that's what the book is about.
Man, you said so many things. So first of all, thank you for your obedience in writing such a book, because a lot of times we do go on that Google search and trying to figure out, okay, I know that something's off, okay, and self-esteem, okay, what does that look like? But we never get, wow, God, I hear you so clearly. We never get the right ingredients to really build what that looks like. And the other thing is a lot of times we look for this person and that person to give us their working definition of words according to their experience. And so sometimes even their experience is broken, but we don't know it because of the mask that they wear and the way that they carry themselves. And so what I've learned in the work that I do with just helping people to understand who they are so they can build the brand, so they can build the book, so they can build the business and themselves, that deep dive back into your root system, a lot of people don't want to do that. It's so key. And some people look at me and they be like, why are you always excited? I was like, because I know where I came from.
Come, say it again.
I know where I came from. I know what it takes to do that deep dive. And it's not cute. Like, I don't like dirt. I don't like what is underneath my nails. It's messy. It's ugly. A lot of times we don't want to talk about those ugly places because of shame is attached to it. Rejection might be attached to it. Just brokenness, or especially in the African American communities. Don't you dare tell what happened in my house. We don't do that. We don't play that. You're not gonna. And so then we internalize those things as our mind, body, soul being that house, that vault. So then we have issues where your confidence is MIA. Your
Yes,
self-esteem is MIA.
Yes.
And so, and you're in action,
Yes.
but that's missing.
And that's girl's gone. It's on fire somewhere in a dumpster. That's what I say. And you said something very important, because when I work with women and girls, a lot of times I say walk it back to walk it forward. And I always say, you know, I am not a therapist.
Right.
But what I can do for you is show you places where you got stuck.
Yes.
And then I'll refer you to a licensed therapist.
Right. Right.
I will refer you to a licensed therapist to help you dig through some of that. But the other thing that's amazing about the book is that it gets people started. And then if you want to continue to work with me, for me to coach you on moving forward, not coach you through your pain in the past, because that's what a therapist is there for,
sure.
but coach you on how to move forward and come up with a plan for your life and make sure that you have something sound that you can execute. This is your jump start. So in lieu of working directly with me, somebody can pick this book up and start the process. And then if they want to continue the work and do a deeper dive, then let's have the one-on-one coaching sessions. Then let's talk about where do you want to go professionally and personally. Like, let's have that conversation. But there's something that you said when you were talking about, you know, getting your hands dirty. I call it something that I see our community, an African-American community, suffering from is what I call root disease.
Yes.
I call it root disease because your roots are where you get fed, right? If you think about a tree, right, the roots go down, but that's how the tree is getting its nutrients. It's coming from down. It's coming from the roots. It's not coming from the leaves, the branches, and all the stuff. It's coming from the roots.
For sure.
And the reason why I call it root disease is because a lot of times we have what we call, you know, generational trauma, generational curses, however you want to term it, where multiple people in a single family are suffering the same things over and over and over and over again. And it's like, how do you get out of that? And if you study forestry and you actually look at trees who have root disease, all it takes is one tree that is suffering from that to infect and impact the entire area around it. And it only simply needs to be in proximity. And so when you think about your circle, your inner circle of people, friends, family, or whatever it is, if you have someone who is really hurt and suffering and they haven't healed or they're toxic, it only takes that one person to kind of poison the field.
For sure.
And so I call it, you know, root disease.
For sure.
And it's like, you got to cure that. You have to start at the root. You can't start at the branch. You can't start at the leaves. You have to start at the root.
And I love that because in one of my books, I talk about 7 keys to unlocking your true self. And one of them I talk about is digging is required. It's not an option, it's required. And so when you talk about the root system, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, and I see this big tree and just there's so many roots. It's not just 2.
Ooh,
it's just there's so many. There's little ones, there's small ones, there's big ones.
Yes.
You know, and it's
And they
spread
fan
out,
out.
right? And so
Yes.
it's really important that as this is specifically for a woman, that we start somewhere.
Correct.
Because you said something that's key. Now knowing the importance of how trees really work in the nature setting. Think about how we're one person removed from really getting to the place that we desire to be.
Correct.
So if you're talking about, you know, your daughter is picking up these habits and behaviors, then you're infecting her because your everything is MIA.
Correct.
And so
Correct.
it's interesting that you say that. So someone picking up your workbook, what type of journey can they expect to go on?
I think they can expect to go on a journey of transformation and a journey of self-reflection. And I say that because it truly is inner work. And this is why it's so hard. It's easy for me to, you know, go to a conference and listen to somebody talk, you know, pick up a book and read it and say, oh, that was a good book.
Yeah.
But if that's not making you pause and say, oh, wait a minute, how am I showing up in this? Like, what's going on internally with me? How do I address these issues that I have? And we all have issues, okay? Let me just be real, because listen, my issues have issues, and those issues have issues.
Okay, it's real. It's like that root system.
It is. But it's about how are you positioning yourself to be successful
Right.
personally.
Personally.
And you can't do that if you have unhealed trauma.
No.
And that's what it's all about. So when you pick up this book, it takes you through the first thing of defining, like, what is self-esteem? What is self-worth? What is self-confidence? What does that look like for you? You know, how was your relationship with your parents? Both of them. You know, what was your relationship with your siblings? Where did some of this stuff that you have now attached as your identity, which truly is not your identity and was never meant to be your identity, that you've now encapsulated as your identity because of the words somebody spoke into your spirit?
It's so real.
Because somebody said something to you over and over and over again, and you are what you hear.
Yes.
Right? So if you weren't hearing the right things, if people weren't speaking positivity into you, or you didn't see the right type of relationships, or you didn't see self-esteem that was healthy demonstrated, your foundation is already cracked. And so you're standing on a cracked foundation or a crumbling foundation.
Yeah.
And what this book does is it helps you start to fill in the cracks. So it's more even. So you have something firm to actually stand on. And so I think when women pick up this book and they start to really get through it, first of all, you're not going to get through one session. It may take you several weeks to get through it, but it's going to cause you to pause and think about, where am I at? And then how do I actually want to move forward?
I'm laughing because the title of the show that we did on Thursday. Now, let me just give this disclaimer. Me and CJ have not talked about this. The power of the pause.
Are you serious?
Very serious.
Come on now, Lord.
So the power of the pause.
Yes.
So what happened with us was last year was that year where all three of us paused. We just took a break from the show to really allow the transitions within our lives
Correct.
to be aligned.
Yes.
Because sometimes you just have to take that time.
Correct.
And so we paused. And so that's what we're talking about, the power of the pause.
And it's powerful.
It is so powerful. Now, here's where people kind of get lost. You can come aside this as being the expert, the silence within the pause.
Yes. It's deafening. It's deafening. You know, we are so used to stimulation. If you think about, we have our smartphones and all that stuff, and I have another career that I have built inside technology, so I'm very familiar with technology just taking over our lives. But we're so used to stimulation. We're so used to things just moving, and interaction. It's easier for us to come help somebody else solve their problems than it is for us to sit in that silence, because that silence says a lot. There's ugliness in that silence. There's also some joy in that silence. There's good things in there, so we don't want to make it seem like it's all bad. But that silence is deafening to some people, and this is why I highly encourage people to take solo trips. I took my first solo trip, and then I've been like encouraging people to do it ever since. Because during that trip, I wasn't playing a role. I wasn't wife. I wasn't mom. I wasn't friend. I wasn't sister. I wasn't anything to anybody. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. I was literally by myself. But it left me with my thoughts. It left me to figure out, you know, do I really like stuff? And when I go on trips, am I doing it because other people like it, or am I doing it because I really like it? What do I like? What I don't like? Who am I? I got to ponder. I got to sit in the ocean and just me and God, you know, and we have a hard time doing that.
For sure.
We have a really hard time doing that.
Yeah. I love this. So someone who picks up your book, they're going to walk themselves through a place of transformation.
Correct.
And embracing this journey of really embracing the totality of who they are.
Who they are.
Yeah. Where can people find it?
Yeah, so you actually can order the book off Amazon. It's really easy. I will have it in other places, but for right now, you can just go on to Amazon and you can look for the Empower Her Workbook by CJ Jackson, and you can get it shipped to you in a matter of like 48 hours.
Like, for real.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Let's go back to this shot real quick of this book. As you guys can see, the book is very well organized. It shows you the 9 reasons why your confidence is MIA.
Correct.
So out of those 9, what was one that you can really like talk about like forever, ever, because you can relate to it?
Mindset.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Mindset, because, all of them are equally important. So, you have mindset, gifts and talents, self-doubt, fear, the external validation, your comfort zone, clarity, blurred vision, comparison, self-care. But mindset, and there's a reason why mindset is the one at the top.
I knew it.
Because your mindset really is the thing that we have to tackle the most.
For sure.
Because your mindset kind of really controls all this other stuff.
Gears.
Right. So it drives
Yeah.
Your behavior, how you think, why you think the way that you think, what you're processing, understanding that your experiences that you have in life create thoughts and feelings, and those feelings and thoughts in turn drive future behavior and action.
Sheesh.
And that future behavior and action results in what? Decisions, outcomes, right? And if you don't like your results, your decisions, and your outcomes, you got to go all the way back to what mindset did I have to make that type of decision that led to this. And so that's why it's really important for people to tackle their mindset. So you can tackle everything else, but if you leave mindset off the table, you're going to be back at the same spot.
And that's key that you said that. And so when I'm thinking about a clock and the 12 o'clock hour, like, that's that mindset. Like, start with that mindset.
Correct.
And so the other thing I was wondering, because I know that there's probably people who do this, is this a book where you suggest that they start at the beginning and not jump around, or can they jump around? What do you suggest?
That's a really good question. My suggestion is to start at the beginning and work your way through. Do not jump around. I mean, you can, but I think you get the most benefit by just going from front cover to back cover, because it takes you through a journey, and each one really builds upon the previous one. So I think that's the best way for someone to kind of digest it and get through it. And that's where the transformation is happening. If you're kind of jumping all over the place, I think it's not going to be as impactful as if you go through the building steps.
And I wanted you to say that so people could understand it, because I kind of knew the answer to that. I was pretty sure, knowing who you are. Because a lot of times when we are challenged to do something like working through a workbook as such, that we know that the desired outcome is to gain this transformation, but there's places and spaces in us that are so scared to actually see what's going to come up and out. So we do what's easy first. So that may be a different section of your workbook, and be like, oh, I can do this. So now that I've done this,
I'll do this.
Go back and do that.
And
so, it's not challenging us to really press the reset button to unlearn the behaviors, to relearn what you're introducing in your workbook. So I just wanted to come aside. So do it from the beginning.
Do it from the beginning. And I built in there those words of encouragement, just acknowledging, like, hey sis, this was a really hard chapter. I get it, I understand. If you need to take a pause and take a break, set the book down. But pick it back up. So I have built that within because I really wanted to make it conversational, as if you were actually talking with me and we were working through it together. And that's the voice that I wrote it in.
And I've had the privilege to kind of walk through it before anybody else was like, ooh, girl. It's an amazing read. And it's not just a read, it's being able to digest the information and not to overwhelm yourself and think that after doing this workbook that everything's just going to flow in place. You may have to go back through this workbook a couple of times and then reach out to CJ if you want her exclusive coaching packages where she can, keep you accountable and really help you to break through those areas that maybe you're just touching the surface on within the book. So how can people reach you if they say, sis, this book was amazing. I know I need more. How can we connect?
The easiest way to connect with me is through the Phenomenal Woman Academy. And so if you go to www.phenomenalwomanacademy.org, you can message me through there and I will reach right back out to you, because it comes directly to my phone. Technology. So I'll see it right away that someone's asking for a connect, and I'll set up a meeting and we'll have a session and we'll talk about what their needs are.
For sure.
So
she doesn't know I'm about to tell y'all this, but she makes some of the dopest TikTok videos where you are like, ooh, shucks. Let me think about that. So how can people follow you on social media as well? just to be able to know who the CJ Jackson woman is
Yes.
in a deeper capacity.
That's really interesting. So about the TikTok, but I will just say there's a new TikTok page.
Okay.
So we're kind of starting over. That's a whole nother story. But if you go to Phenomenal Woman Academy on TikTok, that
Okay.
is the name
Perfect.
of the new TikTok page. And so we are going to start getting new videos posted out
Amazing.
there moving forward.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So definitely follow and keep in touch with her.
Yeah.
I'm so full right now. We need like an hour to really walk through this, but not really, because you're gonna go to Amazon. You're just gonna grab the book and you're gonna work through it
Yes.
yourself. You don't need us to sit here and
You
talk
don't need
about
us to
it.
talk about it. Work through the book.
Work through the book, and then if you need more, reach out to CJ.
Yes.
So as someone who is going to be picking up this book, since we have a couple minutes before the show's out,
Yeah.
what words of encouragement would you lend to them now before they even pick up the book and start that journey?
Absolutely. Extend yourself some grace. Extend some grace to yourself. You've been through a lot. We've all been through a lot. And don't be too critical of your experiences and where you're at. It's okay. We've all been there. Some of us are still trying to get through.
Sure.
And you need to give yourself the grace, the space, and the time to process. And it's okay. And it's not going to feel good. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one more time, if you hold your book up one more time so they can leave with this book in their minds. Go ahead
Absolutely.
and grab your copy of the
Yes.
Empower Her workbook and the 9 reasons why you're confident is MIA.
Yes.
Head over to Amazon, grab it. You know why you're on Amazon? Leave her a review once you pick it up.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Go back and leave her a review and say, you know what, this is the dopest book ever, and I really needed it. And we need to hear that as authors. It's really important.
Yes.
Because we put out the work, but it's really an amazing journey when
Yes.
we can say, oh my gosh, look at these reviews.
Correct.
We're really changing lives that we were created here to change.
Yes.
So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mrs. CJ Jackson, the amazing
Thank you.
founder of the Phenomenal Woman Academy. And so you guys have been exclusively in the lounge. Make sure you come back for
Yes.
more. And remember, this is the official TV show. The Authors Authority Lounge is the official TV show for authors. And if you want to be on the show, let us know. You can email me at hello@takaranicole.com and we'll get you in the lounge. Peace out. Many blessings. And we're out.
What you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep.